Imagine knowing who committed a terrible crime and holding the proof in your hands. But a rule, a cornerstone of the law, forces you to ignore it. You must let the person you believe is a killer walk free. This isn't just a hypothetical. It's a real dilemma in American courtrooms. The story of Ethan Ward is one such case. A tragedy that shook a quiet town and exposed the paradox at the heart of our legal system. We want justice for victims, but we also cherish our rights and freedoms. In the Ethan Ward case, those desires collided. It became a textbook example of why rules matter, even when following them leads to painful outcomes. This is a story about a brutal crime, a desperate search for answers, and a single mistake that unraveled everything. Sometimes, the cost of protecting our rights is letting a killer go free. And it all began on an ordinary day that turned into a nightmare. Maple Creek was the kind of town where crime seemed impossible. That illusion shattered one October morning when a neighbor discovered the body of Amelia Hayes, the beloved local librarian. The news sent shockwaves through the community. The brutality of the crime suggested a personal motive. Police were under pressure to restore the town's sense of safety. Investigators pieced together Amelia's final hours, and soon a name surfaced: Ethan Ward. Ward, a former colleague with a grudge, became the focus. He'd left the library after disputes, and was seen near Amelia's home before her death. With no other leads, the police zeroed in on Ethan Ward. He was their prime suspect. Ethan Ward was a puzzle, quiet to some, brooding to others. Police found a pattern of minor conflicts and a grudge against Amelia. The motive seemed clear: revenge. But the case was circumstantial. No physical evidence, just motive and a weak alibi. Ward claimed he was home alone, but no one could confirm it. Detectives believed the answer was inside Ward's house. Frustrated and under pressure, they doubted they could get a warrant. So, they chose a different approach: a knock and talk. They hoped to find the evidence they needed without a judge's approval. This decision would change everything. Sometimes the line between justice and overreach is razor thin. The detectives crossed it that day, and the consequences would be enormous. 2 days after the murder, Detectives Miller and Chen went to Ward's house. They had no warrant, just a hunch and mounting desperation. Ward answered, surprised, and stood in the doorway. Miller asked if they could come in. Ward hesitated, then stepped back. The detectives took this as permission and entered. Inside, they questioned Ward and scanned the room for evidence. Chen asked if they could look around. Ward shrugged, saying, "I have nothing to hide." The detectives took this as consent and searched the house. In a laundry basket, they found a jacket with a bloodstain. In the trash, gloves with traces of blood and fibers matching the crime scene. They believed they had found the evidence to convict Ethan Ward, but how they found it would soon matter more than what they found. The case was about to unravel. The jacket and gloves seemed to seal the case. Forensics confirmed the blood was Amelia's and fibers matched her home. The prosecution was confident until the defense filed a motion to suppress the evidence. Defense attorney Sarah Jenkins argued the search was illegal. No warrant, no clear consent. The detectives' knock and talk was a shortcut around the Fourth Amendment. The prosecution insisted Ward's actions implied consent, but the court had to decide: was this evidence admissible? The fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine says if the search is illegal, so is the evidence. The case now hinged not on guilt, but on the legality of the search. Sometimes the law protects us all, even when it means letting the truth stay hidden. The judge's ruling would decide everything. Judge Eleanor Vance presided over the suppression hearing. The prosecution argued the detectives acted in good faith. The defense insisted the Fourth Amendment was clear. Consent must be explicit. Judge Vance reviewed the facts and the law. She ruled that Ward's ambiguous gestures did not amount to voluntary consent. The search was unconstitutional. All evidence from the search was suppressed. The prosecution's case collapsed. The jacket and gloves, the only physical evidence, were gone. The law had spoken. Rights come before results. Justice in this case meant letting a suspect go free. With the evidence suppressed, the prosecution had nothing left. The case against Ethan Ward was dismissed. Ward walked out of jail a free man. The public was outraged. How could this happen? The police had found the evidence, but the law had thrown it out. The community's anger shifted from Ward to the legal system. Amelia Hayes' family was devastated, unable to understand how a legal principle could outweigh justice for their daughter. The police, especially Detective Miller, were left to grapple with the consequences of their mistake. Their shortcut had backfired, leaving the murder unsolved. The exclusionary rule wasn't just a legal concept. It was the reason a suspected killer walked free. Sometimes the pursuit of justice leads to heartbreak, and the town of Maple Creek would never be the same. The fallout from the Ward case forced Maple Creek to confront its failures. The police department overhauled its training on search and seizure. Officers now attend mandatory seminars on the Fourth Amendment. Written consent forms became standard. No more relying on ambiguous gestures. Body cameras were adopted to record every interaction. The mantra became, "When in doubt, get a warrant." Technology was introduced to streamline warrant applications. The goal: transparency, accountability, and never repeating the same mistake. The Ward case became a lesson in the high cost of shortcuts. Sometimes justice means changing the system itself. Years later, Amelia Hayes' murder remains unsolved. The reforms made the police more accountable, but the scars linger. The Ward case is now a teaching tool, a reminder of the price of constitutional violations. Is it better to let a guilty person go free to protect everyone's rights? The exclusionary rule isn't about protecting criminals. It's about deterring police misconduct. But the cost can be high. The truth and justice for victims can be lost. For families like Amelia's, the law can feel like a cruel game. The case leaves us with an uncomfortable question. What price are we willing to pay for our freedom? Justice is a balancing act between catching criminals and protecting rights. Sometimes those goals collide. The exclusionary rule stands at that crossroads, and we must all live with the consequences.